So radiation is all around us. It's naturally occurring, and there's man-made sources as well, but it's invisible. So how do we know it's there? I talked earlier about our Geiger counters. There's a Geiger counter there. Now, radiation is going to go through the yellow bit at the beginning of the front, and every time a bit of radiation hits the black line in the middle there, it is going to cause a signal which will be detected on our Geiger counter, usually accompanied with a little bit of a sound, a beep. Now we measure this radiation in becquerels, or in counts per minute. So we've looked at two things, two units today, sieverts and becquerels. Sieverts is the dose that we receive, but becquerels is how much radiation there is. If you think of an analogy, becquerels is like how hard it's raining outside, but sieverts is about how wet you get. We've got to come to a point now where we'll be able to write a definition in our own words. So have a go and write a definition of what you think background radiation is and where it comes from. I'm going to put up a model answer in a few seconds. So if you need a bit of time, pause. Background radiation is the radiation that is around us all the time at a safe level. It is measured in becquerels, or counts per minute. It comes from rocks, food, radon gas, cosmic rays, medical procedures, nuclear weapons testing, and nuclear power plants. Hopefully now you've got two things written down in your books. You've got your notes and you've got this big definition. Some questions now based on the pie charts that you can see on the screen. I'll read through the questions, you pause it, and then I'll go through the answers, see how we've done. According to these data, where does most of the background radiation come from? What percentage would that be? What are the other sources? What could be the possible medical uses of radiation? Pause or move straight on. Number 1, where does most of the background radiation come from? Radon gas, from the ground. 2, what percentage would that be? Looks like half the pie chart to me, so that's 50%. 3, what are the other sources? Buildings and the ground, artificial sources, cosmic rays, food and drink. 4, what could be the possible medical uses of radiation? So for this, we're thinking things like X-rays or investigations using nuclear isotopes, and we'll come on to that later on. Also, you could think about radiotherapy. You may know people who've undergone cancer treatment using radiotherapy. That's using gamma rays. So question 4 is something we'll come back to as we move through this nuclear physics topic. Now, we're going to do some close reading, some careful reading with some questions to answer. So we'll ask the questions at the beginning, you look out for the answers, fill them in, off we go. These are the questions. Again, there is a map there for us to look at as we're doing this. Where does radon gas come from? What do the levels of radon gas depend on? What source of radiation is radon gas? What is meant by irradiating? What areas of Britain have high levels of radon gas? I'm going to read through this together. Then you can have a go at the questions. Then I will give you what I think the answers are. Radon, the silent killer. Radon is a hazardous gas. It is produced naturally in rocks, Granite rock emits radon gas, which is a particular hazard if it builds up in enclosed spaces and is breathed in. Depending on the bedrock beneath the ground, radon hazards are different around the country. The black star is where we are. Radon gas emits alpha radiation. Exposure to a source outside your body is irradiation. If radiation gets inside your body, it is called contamination. Radon is not an irradiation risk. However, if you become contaminated, the risk could be severe. You may die or become very ill. Back to the questions. Where does radon gas come from? What do the levels of radon gas depend on? What source of radiation is radon gas? What is meant by irradiating? What areas in Britain have high levels of radon gas? Pause, then listen to my answers. Radon gas comes from rocks in the ground. You might have put granite. What do the levels of radon gas depend on? The bedrock, so the ground underneath our feet. What source of radiation is radon gas? It's an alpha source. What is meant by irradiating? That's when radiation comes from outside the body into the body, or an object, it doesn't have to be a body. What areas of Britain have high levels of radon gas? Well, we're talking Cornwall, Devon, vast areas of Wales, Scotland around Aberdeen, and central England around the Pennines, you could have put. So here we've got to the end. Explain what is background radiation and why it is different in different parts of Britain. 6-mark question. Have a go. You're going to be having to use this, answer this question in the quiz that's later. So if you've written your answer down, that will take you less time. If you need a little bit of help, here's some starter sentences coming up. Background radiation is. It is measured in. This includes. Most background radiation comes from. Other sources include. Radon gas comes from. Level of radon gas depends on. Areas such as have high levels of background radiation. We're now at the end. So make sure you do the quiz, and I will speak to you all again next week. Goodbye.